Chapter 440, Angel Family. Just as Klein picked up the diary, Audrey added, "Mr. Fool, I still have 10 diary pages which will be given to you later. It is for the payment for your previous blessing." She repeated her private promise so as to not let Mr. Fool think that she had forgotten about it. And the reason why she had provided payment for the information regarding the Twilight Hermit Order was to first settle the debt, while having the intention to show off a little. The payment for the blessing. Fours ruminated over these words and suddenly realized an important oversight on her part. On the matter regarding the Abraham family, Mr. Fool had sent his angel to help me interfere with the divination. I should have paid an appropriate amount. Oh no, I didn't realize this at all. I thought, like all rituals, that it was the end to it once it was completed. For a moment, Fours fell into a panic. During ordinary ritualistic magic, if one prayed for help from a deity or a corresponding existence, they would perform a sacrifice in advance. Burning essential oils, extracts, and herbal essence that pleased the target was equivalent to making an advanced payment, but in the rituals corresponding to the Fool, there were many steps that could be omitted, and the price could only be paid afterward. Sometimes, there wasn't even a need to offer anything. Fours, who was accustomed to the former, ended up only saying a word of thanks. She hurriedly looked towards the end of the long bronze table and earnestly said, "Honorable Mr. Fool, your divination interference had helped me greatly. I will try to find 10 Roselle diary pages as soon as possible as well." Seeing the performance of Miss Justice and Miss Magician, it dawned on Derek Berg that he had found a way to fully express his gratitude. However, the City of Silver doesn't have the diary pages of the so-called Emperor Roselle. Well, Mr. Fool is very interested in history, so I'll have to read more books and records on these. With a thought, Derek made a promise to Mr. Fool, who sat high above them. The hanged man watched all this from the side, and had no doubt that the Fool had an angel at his service. Any organization should have a character like Miss Justice. The power of a role model is limitless. With a lot of debts to collect appearing out of thin air, Klein happily sighed inwardly. As the high and mighty Mr. Fool, he always found it awkward to directly ask for compensation, and he had always believed that helping the members of his own organization was a normal and reasonable thing to do, without the need for him to make it so reliant on transactions. Thus, he didn't control the world to put on the appropriate performance to remind everyone. Of course, if Justice and the others were willing to provide payment, then Klein had no intention of refusing it. "All right," he smiled and nodded before shifting his gaze back to the diary in his hands. 13th January, contact with Mr. Dorr stabilized. The powerful Beyonder, who's lost in the darkness and trapped in the storm, didn't rush me to complete a complicated and difficult ritual so as to help him return to the real world. He seems to have understood that he has to come up with something that would move me, instead of giving me 3 intangible wishes, in order for me to consider whether I should take the hidden risks of saving him. Mr. Dorr temporarily didn't mention this matter, and instead, with great interest, chatted about my tarot card creation. Ha. The word creation should be written with quotation marks. From this point, it's apparent that Mr. Dorr is able to make contact with the real world at particular times and through particular methods, and he should be able to observe a lot of details. While talking about the moon card, I thought of a matter Zeratol mentioned. He said that the life school of thought worships the moon, but not the Evernight goddess. Yes, I added the second half myself. Hence, I asked the 4th epic expert, Mr. Dorr, about this question. He chuckled and similarly didn't give a direct answer. However, compared to the furtive seer who speaks half-truths, making me want to beat him up, he's a lot more frank. He told me that if he were to choose a card from the tarot cards to represent the Evernight goddess, he wouldn't choose the moon, but the star. That makes things very interesting. I pressed, "Who is the real owner of the moon?" His reply was even more worthy of relish. He said with a laugh that the moon currently has no owner. If I didn't misunderstand him, then he means that the peak of the moon's pathway is empty. The sequence 0 is empty. That's not right. Isn't there a primordial moon? Upon seeing this, Klein suddenly had this thought. He had already anticipated that the moon card didn't represent the goddess. Whether it was the faith of the life school of thought, the attitude of the vampires, or the records in the Book of Secrets, they all vaguely pointed out that Evernight wasn't the moon. In contrast, vampire ancestor Lilith and the primordial moon resembled the sequence 0 of this pathway in more ways. According to the City of Silver's history lessons, Lilith had most likely fallen in the Dark Epic, the second epic. However, the primordial moon was an existence that people still believed in and sent responses to even to this day. Of course, those who prayed to her wouldn't end up well. Why did Mr. Dorr say that the moon had no owner at the moment? As seen from the Book of Secrets, the primordial moon still existed during the fourth epic. Klein almost frowned. Soon, he came up with 3 guesses. First, Mr. Dorr didn't know enough about the hidden primordial moon, but that was a very low possibility. Second, that the primordial moon was actually the disguise of another deity, not essentially occupying the position of the moon's sequence 0 pathway. Third, that she was a sequence 1 of the moon's pathway or was in disguise and had the corresponding sealed artifact. And one more possibility, it's the response from the moon pathway's uniqueness. Klein muttered silently. The most important Beyonder ingredient in the sequence 0 potion formula described by the Black Emperor card wasn't all of the sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics, but something called uniqueness. Different pathways had different uniquenesses. A true god was unique. Other than the first guess, the other possibilities aren't small. What is the Beyonder pathway of the moon? Klein turned to the second page of the diary and was lucky enough to discover that it was connected to the previous page. I continued pressing, but Mr. Dorr refused to say more. Heth, he thinks that I'll rescue him by whetting my appetite. Dream on. I hid my curiosity and scoffed at Mr. Dorr for not being respectful enough to true gods. He casually, yes, casually replied to me. This is the attitude a fourth epic noble has to the deities. This guy is too good at acting. However, I really am interested in the nobility of the fourth epic, so I took the opportunity to ask. Mr. Dorr told me that in the Tudor dynasty, there were 5 noble families: Abraham, Antigonus, Ammon, Tamara, and Jacob. Each family was known as an angel family, and they possessed tremendously terrifying strength. Angel family, just the name itself raises many problems. It really makes one yearn for it. Mr. Dorr said that the number of angel families in the fourth epic exceeded the 5. There were the Zeratul and Zarost family, which had always been loyal to the Solomon Empire, the Augustus, Sauron, Einhorn, Castia families of the Trunsos dynasty, and the furtive Andariel and Berea families, as well as the Demoness family, which stemmed from a true goddess, which was one step up from the angel families. So the last winner of the fourth epic was the Trunsos dynasty, but where did their royal family go? The 4 angel families, Augustus, Sauron, and the others, divided up the northern continent. Just as Mr. Dorr said the previous time, the strongest powerhouses in the fourth epoch far exceeds my imagination. However, most of them have been buried in the ashes of history. Even the Sauron family has waned, destroyed by me. In another 1 to 2 millennia, perhaps the Augustus family might no longer exist. Only the true gods appear capable of forever illuminating the real world. Although some deities perished in the fourth epoch, they should only be few in number. This makes me think of something that was previously written in a web novel which I memorized. It can be used here with some changes. Ashes await those who fail to become true gods. After the communication period ended, Mr. Dorr disconnected. He's like a prisoner who's released on parole for a fixed period of time, and he does know a lot. When he mentioned the Zeratul family, there was faint contempt in his tone. Perhaps I need to maintain my relationship with Mr. Dorr. Apart from the Church of the God of Steam, Zeratul, and that secret and ancient organization, I should leave another outlet. Unlike the saying, a wily hare has far more than 3 holes. When Emperor Roselle was struggling in the end, he was only thinking about the organization that's suspected to be the Twilight Hermit Order. He didn't mention Mr. Dorr at all. Something apparently happened in between. So the ancestor of the lone royal family, the Augustus family, was actually so rich and powerful to be an angel family. However, why did the royal family of the Trunsos dynasty, to which they were loyal to, disappear just like that? Klein suddenly thought of a few things. and his desire to clear away the fog that shrouded the history of the fourth epoch and see its true appearance grew. This was also the greatest hobby of his body's original owner. Perhaps that underground relic with two side-by-side seats and a terrifying evil spirit will help me answer a lot of questions. Klein lowered his gaze and flipped to the third page. 2nd June, Bernadette massaged my back. It's good to have a daughter. She knows to care for her old father, and although I can see what she wants at a glance, at least she's willing to put on an act. Besides, she did a good job. I asked her which Beyonder pathway she wanted. She said she was undecided, but she liked the maxim of do as you wish, but do no harm. 3rd June, I saw Florin again. He's very different from before, as though he's a different person. No, he still had his original memories and some of his distinctive characteristics, which is enough to prove that he's him. What exactly happened to him to experience such a huge change? Perhaps a metaphor could be used to describe it more precisely. Some monsters are physical sutures, while he is a monster of mental sutures. 5th June, I obtained an ancient book. It actually mentions the primordial demoness's name, not one of an honorific name. Her name is Cheek, but that's a man's name. Is this ancient book fake,